Welcome back to Cocktails and Convos. We are with the Untouchables House of Diosa. We talked a little bit about the history of the house. I want to talk now about your personal experiences in terms of coming out. When did you know you were a woman or were gay or wanted to do drag?
Well, when I first sort of knew, I knew at a very young age that I was kind of hyper feminine. I had, counterparts to the Barbie dolls that were Ken dolls, and I would do the whole wrap the blanket around my waist and put the towel on my head like it was hair. And then when I turned 18, it was kind of a tumultuous relationship between my parents and I because, I was the oldest male, and in the Chamorro culture, we kind of build up our young boys to be men of the future, and it just wasn't something that I saw myself doing. So when I came out, my dad made sure that I was going to be, if I was going to come out and if I was going to be gay, that he made sure that I was going to be tough about it and that I'm not going to have anybody push me around and, basically not take anybody's backlash about being who I am. But in the beginning, it was a little rocky, because I wasn't the son that I was supposed to be. So when I came out as trans, he still tried to push me to make sure that I'm not going to take anybody's BS, basically. So, yeah, when I came, sorry, that's good. My father passed away a couple years ago, so he became very accepting towards the end. So that's what kind of geared me to be who I am, because if a stubborn man like him was able to accept me for who I was, there was nothing that the world could do to hurt me.
I think I find it very endearing with our trans women especially, because first they have to come out twice. They come out as gay individuals and this is who I am, and then they identify as trans, like I am meant to be a woman, and then it's transitioning from being a homosexual male to being a transgender female. So I relayed that information to my family, and this is who I am. How do I go about relaying that coming out again? So I think it's very courageous for all my trans sisters to live their truth.
It's like a double closet door.
Yeah, I think so.
It's more like a double door, especially for Trini, because it's a big door.
My story is different. I come from a very, very, very accepting family. I knew that I was attracted to the same sex since I can remember, as far back as second grade. That young, and we are not taught those things at that age, but for me to be attracted to the same gender, it kind of set something off in my mind. My family, my parents especially, would hint at conversations about it, but I never truly came out to them. I don't have an actual coming out story. There was just one day that I met the girls and I said, hey, I'm gonna dress up, and I put on a wig and I put on makeup and I'm trying to run out my house so my dad doesn't see me.
She came out as Minnie Mouse.
I think it was a Halloween party. We helped you at the condo. We made you to Minnie Mouse. It was like a theme night.
I don't know. Well, anyways, my dad was outside.
No, it was. I forgot the cartoon. But.
Yeah. My dad was outside, being a man, fixing a car, and here I am running to the car like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't see me. And then the next day he goes, how was your night last night? And I'm like, oh God, he saw me. And from there, my family, they've just been the most amazing people. I think that these people here can kind of be a testament to that.
You're right, it is. It's 2018, it's a different time. People are more accepting. Would you agree or disagree? Or do you still feel that you experience discrimination to an extent?
I think, personally, I can agree in some sense, but there's still some work that needs to be done. I always tell people when, we share our stories about coming out or transitioning, that living on Guam, we're very fortunate to have the families that we do. As hard as it is to come out to our families and as hard as it is to transition, we're very fortunate to have the loving and caring families that we have, even though Guam is a predominantly Catholic community. Even with all that, family's still family. I always say you need to give them time to adjust, to get used to, they've known this person their entire life. And for you to come to them and say, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, this is who I'm going to become, you can't expect them to automatically jump the bandwagon and say, okay, we support you 100%. They have to get used to it in some sense. And so we do have a long way to go. A lot of the struggles that we have here on Guam aren't necessarily the struggles that they have in the mainland. She just recently moved back from Las Vegas. So she was out there in the forefront of the whole bathroom issue. And here on Guam, we don't really have that issue. There have been instances where, one of the trans girls will be in the restroom, someone will make a comment, but it never got to a point where they had to defend themselves
And
or
remove them
get into
from using the restroom.
an altercation.
It's a pretty sad thing.
And and it also stems back to our show. Again, one of the main reasons for our show starting was to change people's perceptions of us, the stigma of us. I want to say that for a large amount of our show careers, maybe 70% of our following have been the straight community.
Yeah.
Very true.
And it's because people can come to our show, and we can be on stage poking fun at ourselves, so we don't give people that opportunity to make fun of us. We laugh at ourselves before anybody can laugh at us.
We
And
beat them to
that's
the punch.
we beat them to the punch, and that's been one of our biggest forefronts for our show. So the community has become very accepting of not just our show, but the gay, the LGBT community in general. And that's one of the biggest reasons, because people are able to come to our show and just have a good time and laugh. And
But there still are instances where we will encounter some negativity from the community. I personally used to work for a certain government agency, and going back to the whole bathroom issue, this is before it wasn't even an issue. I had already transitioned, and I have been working for that agency for about 7 years already. And I was transitioned for about 7 years at that point. And the EEO herself actually made a comment to me about, shouldn't I be in the men's restroom? The EEO girl, that was something that I had to bite my tongue and be like, look at me. Do you really think I belong in that bathroom? And it was a single stall restroom that I was going into, so it wasn't like I was gonna harm anybody's well-being. But just knowing that the person who's supposed to protect me as an employee would even think that way, it kind of was heartbreaking, because at that point, our movement was still moving, and it just proved that no matter how accepting the community is, and no matter how accepting our island is, there still will be people who will have their doubts about your lifestyle, will have your doubts about whether or not your gender is questionable. And so, yes, we're very thankful for those who have been there supporting us 100%, and they may not accept it completely, but they tolerate it at least, and that's all that sometimes we ask for. But there still will be backlash, and we've sort of excuse me, we've sort of built a tough skin layer to pay no mind to the ignorance.
in order to live this life, you have to have a tough skin.
Don't feed into the negativity, because that's only gonna blow up.
Well, I want to continue the discussion on discrimination, but first we got to take another break, so stay tuned. Cocktails and Convos continues in a moment.